Assalamu alaikum. I hope every one of you is fine at home. We are under unusual circumstances, so need to take unusual steps to communicate with each other. Therefore, university has taken initiative and asked the faculty to remain in contact with the student by using different social media sites or websites or providing them teaching material in the form of PowerPoint slides or audio video lectures or the notes. So in that context, today I am sharing my thoughts on a very basic topic in the plant pathology, on which the whole discipline of plant pathology is developed. The reason I choose it because I think we must have a very good background before going or describing the other complex issues or the problems in plant pathology. So the topic today I am going to talk disease triangle and disease pyramid. This topic is not new one in plant pathology. Earliest plant pathologist has the idea about the disease triangle, but in 1960s, Stephen was the person who elaborated it in a very scientific manner. What is the idea? The basic idea is that disease in plants is only possible if there is a susceptible host, a virulent pathogen, and they interact with each other under a conducive environment. So first, I would like to talk about the susceptible host. But before the susceptible host, I would like to talk about what is the host. Host in case of plants, is a plant which is able to provide the nutrients to the pathogens. So, not every, not every plant is the host of every pathogen. Rather than there is a kind of specific interaction, and a certain plant only provide nutrient to a certain pathogen. But if you look at the screen, it's a susceptible host. It means that the host is also occur in other form, and that form is known as resistant host. So resistant host is that host which has a resistant gene, and that gene help the host to detect the pathogen, and not only detect the pathogen but also help the host to kill it, while the susceptible host is a host which lack that gene. Because it don't have this gene, it unable to detect the virulent pathogen, and as a result of that disease will occur. Might be a question arises in your mind that along with susceptible host and the resistant host, there is any other form of host? The answer is no. Uh, uh, Plants are either resistant or either susceptible. It's just like when we throw the coin, either there is head or it is tail. So, when this susceptible host interact with a virulent pathogen, then disease is possible. Uh, we all know pathogen is a microorganism which is capable of causing disease in plants. There are two forms of pathogen. One is avirulent and other is virulent. Avirulent pathogen don't cause the disease, but virulent pathogen always cause the disease because it has virulent factors, and these factors could be enzymes. These factors could be growth hormones. They could be the toxins, or they could be polysaccharides. All these factors help the pathogen to disturb the host physiology and get the nutrients out of it. So only those pathogens cause the disease which have the virulent factor. But I also want to clarify, there are two other terms we usually saw in every pathology book or literature, and these are pathogenicity and virulence. Uh, these terms are usually used simultaneously, but we must have a very correct idea about them. Pathogenicity is the ability of a pathogen to cause the disease, while and from that the word pathogenic arises. So pathogenic microorganisms are those organisms which has the capacity to cause the disease. The degree or the intensity of the disease they cause is known as virulence. So from the word virulence, the word originated virulent. So virulent pathogen is a microorganism which able to cause a severe disease. So in short, when we say virulent pathogen, it is the pathogen which is capable of causing a severe disease in the host. The third thing which has a key role in the establishment of disease in plant is the conducive environment. When we say conducive environment, it means it is an environment which help the disease to establish. We all know that the plants are usually grown outside. It means that they are unlike the humans or the animals, they live outside at the mercy of nature. So different environmental factors play key role, and these factors include temperature, humidity, soil pH. How they play the key role? Because every pathogen can grow and reproduce at a certain temperature or at a certain humidity and live in the soil at a certain pH. So there are three ranges. One is known as minimum, other is known as optimum, and the third one is the maximum. So minimum temperature is the temperature below which pathogen cannot live. Similarly, the maximum temperature is the temperature above which pathogen cannot live, while the optimum range is the range which is best for the pathogen to progress. Same is the case of the humidity. Take here the example of Phytophthora infestans. We all know that the Phytophthora infestan cause late blight of potato. So this pathogen uh, live at a very low temperature and when there is plenty of humidity. If the temperature increases or the water is not available, this pathogen even unable to cause disease in the susceptible host. So environment directly or indirectly promote or reduce the disease. So coming back to when these three factors join together, the structure they form is known as triangle. So disease triangle is actually the outcome of interaction of three factors. One is susceptible host, other is a virulent pathogen, and third one is known as conducive environment. How much disease will occur? It depends how they interact with each other. For example, if you increase the conducive environment, the quantity of disease is also increase. If you have more susceptible variety, then again disease increase. And if your pathogen is more virulent, it will directly increase the disease. But on the other hand, if the environment no more remain conducive or susceptible host no more remain susceptible or virulent pathogen lost some degree of virulence, it will reduces the disease. So disease quantity of disease is directly proportional to these factors. But on the other hand, if we take away. For example, if we don't have a susceptible host, or we don't have a virulent pathogen, or we don't have conducive environment, it means that this triangle is not completed. And if this triangle is not completed, there would be no disease. As I mentioned earlier, this idea is not new one in plant pathology. Since ages, people know that, but from 1960s onward, it become a central dogma in the plant pathology study. So it is a central belief that disease can only be possible if these three factors are present. But there are the people who say that there is an issue. Issue is that even the susceptible host is there, even the virulent pathogen is there, even the environment is conducive, but still disease not occur. Why? Because these three factors not coincide at the same time. So what it means that not only these three factors are present, but they should be aligned with each other at a certain time. So time is a very crucial factor. I always give example from our class. I am a teacher. I paid by university to teach you. You are the student. You pay the fee to learn, and there is a conducive environment. We have a lecture room, and the lecture room has the blackboard, the multimedia, mic, fan, lights. So environment is conducive. But if we all not reach at one point that is allotted for the class would not take place, despite I want to teach, you want to learn, and despite the conducive environment is there. Quite similarly, if all these three factors not coincide each other, the disease would not take place. For example, there is a pathogen, there are the pathogens which attack the plants when the plants are young. If the pathogen reach the plant at a younger stage, then there is disease. So, but if the same pathogen reach the susceptible plant when the plant become older, the disease would not take place. So plant is still susceptible, and the pathogen is still virulent, and the conditions are still conducive. But that particular time in the growth of plant is missed by the pathogen. So there would be no disease. So if we look at that, it means now we have disease triangle on all three vertices are covered, one by susceptible host, other by virulent pathogen, and other one was by the conducive environment. And inside the disease triangle, there is a time. There is nothing left in this triangle to add any more factor. So everyone in the plant pathology agree with the Stevens statement, but still there are the people who says that this disease triangle fail in some particular cases. For example, there are the diseases which are caused by the viruses. In Pakistan, there is a disease which is known as cotton leaf gall virus, cotton leaf gall disease. This disease is caused by a virus which is known as cotton leaf gall virus. So, if the disease occur, then it means that the cotton variety is susceptible and virus is virulent and the environmental condition are conducive. But disease failed to occur if the vector, which is known as whitefly, is absent. So what the whitefly did, it picked the virus from the infected plant and transmit it into the healthy plant. And if you can eliminate the whitefly, despite the cotton plant is susceptible, despite the virus is virulent, despite the environmental conditions are conducive, but there would be no disease. But the problem is there in the disease triangle, there is no space is left for such an important key player. So we can't place white fly in this disease triangle. So the later plant pathologists thought we should extend the disease triangle in a way that this vector can be accommodated. And now the disease triangle changed its shape from triangle to disease pyramid. So in disease pyramid, we can have a space where we can put the vector, a key player, especially in case of viral diseases. So viral diseases mostly not occur if there would be no vector. So disease pyramid concept is actually an extension of disease triangle. And student, we all know where the word pyramid comes. Pyramids are made by pharaohs in the Egypt in order to put their bodies and belongings in them in a hope that someday they will can again become alive along with their animals and along with their all gold and so many things. So basically, now we actually have cover most of the things in this idea why when to disease occur, and everyone is agree with it. But still, there are the people who says that when we are promoting the disease pyramid, we shouldn't. So initially, most of the queries are answered and the idea of disease pyramid was established. But still, there are the people who think when we are talking about disease pyramid, we are ignoring a very important decision maker in a farming system. And we all know that in the farming system, the decision is made by the farmer, and his decision by somehow has the impact on the disease. For example, a farmer make the decision which variety to grow. Farmer make the decision where when to grow, in which kind of soil to grow, what kind of tillage practices should be adopted, what kind of fertilizer should add, and also the amount of the fertilizer, when and how much water to apply. All these factor has the impact on the occurrence of the disease. For example, if a farmer add more nitrogen fertilizer to the crop, it actually promoting then required by the crop, it actually promoting the disease. But if the same farmer add more potash fertilizer, it help the plant to become resistant. So in the disease pyramid, along with the vector, we shouldn't take away the farmer. The farmer must be included in the disease pyramid. Farmer is very important. His decisions actually change the fate of the disease. For example, we in the orchard we see that the farmer prune the plants, and pruning of the fruit trees actually help to improve the ventilation or the circulation of the air, and at the same time it will also help the entry of the sunlight, which act negatively on most of the pathogen. So we cannot take away a farmer. So the recent plant pathologists say that along with the vector, we should have a space for the farmer, because his decision make has impact on the disease. But I again emphasize the basic concept is disease triangle, not the disease pyramid. So pyramid is just an extension, and still the basic concept in every book you find it is a disease triangle. So the next question arises: what would be the implication of the disease triangle in the disease? So another slide. In the very beginning, I told you that disease triangle is the basic concept in the plant pathology. And if we don't understand the disease triangle, we would never understand the plant diseases. If you take away the disease triangle from any plant pathology study, then the whole building of the plant pathology is simply collapsed. And no one would like to do this. And secondly, and more importantly, if you understand the disease triangle, no matter you are not plant pathology, still you can manage the plant diseases. For example, if you know, as we mentioned earlier, that the Phytophthora infestan cause disease in a susceptible potato plant when there is a temperature is low and when there is a plenty of water. So if you take away the plenty of water, you can grow a susceptible variety free of Phytophthora infestans infection. So in that context, we can manipulate the things if we have the proper idea of the disease triangle. Here, many of you has the question, does the disease triangle also similarly apply to human and animal pathology? I guess not. And the reason is that human and animals can move from one place to another place. So when they see the danger, they leave the place, unlike the plants, which are the stationary and the sessile. Conducive environment not has any impact on the human. On the other hand, human and animal has a very complex defense system which is based on antigen antibody. They have the white blood cell, they have the T cells, they have the memory cells, and this help them to escape from the disease triangle. But to some extent, you can also apply disease triangle on the human. For example, in case of dengue fever, if we kill the vector, that is the mosquito, then despite the virus is virulent and the humans are susceptible, but we can control the disease and we can reduce the disease. But still, I again emphasize disease triangle can't be applicable to human and animal pathology as it can be applicable to the plant pathology. Like to finish and thanks all of you for patiently listening. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys have any question, you are free to ask. I would like to put these slides on the university portal as well as on a kind of blog so that you can search them and you can interact with them without any difficulty. Hoping that every one of you is fine and remain fine and thing would improve, and in coming weeks we again come back to our lecture rooms and uh, start where we left. But for the meanwhile, it would in best interest of you, me, university, that we not leave behind our studies and continue it. And if there is a will, there is a way. And this is actually not bad. This is a new kind of training, and I hope we develop much more expertise in it. And till then, I say goodbye. Have a nice day.